Go. Alright, I'm hitting record. So hello everyone again. My name is Miranda Edney and I'm guesting here for Artist Live, which I'm so excited about. I don't get to do very many live Ustreams anymore. So this is a real treat for me. And I created this large tag. It's a big wooden tag. It's hollow on the back. But it was a big wooden tag and I had sent it out to a trade show and it kind of got like disheveled and beaten up and just all messed up, and I just wanted to do a whole makeover, and I had just gotten all my 7 Dot Studio goodies and Wow Studios goodies, so I just decided that I was going to completely remake it. So I stripped it all off and this is what I came up with. So I'll hold it up closely really quickly. Hopefully you can see some of the yummy texture that we're going to create, which is really fun. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a really quick disclaimer. Well, I'll show you this really quickly. I have a lot of charms here and flowers and stuff up in the rope area and tassels and whatnot and ribbon. Just love chunky tags. So I'm going to be substituting out a few items because I didn't get my order placed in time to get these back. So instead of using the hexagon background, we're going to use the Punchinella from Wow Studios, which is pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's a background with a lot of detail. You can use anything you have on hand, y'all. Any stencil, anything you have, whatever you want to use, okay? And then also the butterfly. We're also going to use just a die cut butterfly because I only had one wing and I actually like it with the full butterfly better. And we're going to use a different letter. So other than that, everything else is going to stay the same, but I wanted to go ahead and give that disclaimer, okay? So let me move this out of the way. And we're going to jump right into it because we do have a lot to cover. Let's see if I can prop this up so that y'all can still see it while I'm working on the other one. Okay, so this tag that I have, and I've already covered it with the Dreamscapes paper from 7 Dot Studio, which is just beautiful. So I've covered it with the paper. Again, it's just, this one's a little bit larger and it's not hollow. I got this one from Michael's and it was an Easter tag. So it had like a really funny bunny and carrots and stuff on the front, so it was very easy to just cover up with the paper, and I just distressed the edges, and I went ahead and did that ahead of time just for time purposes, but that's all I did was just cover it with that super beautiful Dreamscapes paper from 7 Dot Studio and DD Catron. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the letter I'm going to use this time is an M for Miranda, so we're going to go ahead and add that on there too, okay? And let me see, I think the first thing we should probably do is cover our letter with our little texture that we're going to create with a stencil here. So let me move a few things out of the way. Got my foil and everything here. Tried to get it all lined up, and you know how that goes. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Okay, so this is the background that we're going to, and my light just fell. I'm telling you, it's Monday, and it's like the odds are just stacked against me, but that's okay. So we're going to use this background, which is the Punchinella background from Wow Studios, and I really love it. Wow Studios chipboard is very thick, and it's just beautiful. So we're going to use that instead of the hexagon because I just don't have any. I do have, let's see here, like these hexagon pieces, the hexagon mash. And that's what I was going to use originally. I love all the mashes, but we're going to go ahead and use that. And I've got the crowns and everything else. Okay, so let me grab the stencil that we're going to use, which is beautiful. I am so in love with 7 Dot Studio now. I cannot believe that I waited so long to get my hands on this beautiful, beautiful company's products. It's just amazing. So we're going to use the geometry stencil from 7 Dots, and it's from the Dreamscapes collection. And we are just going to add a ton of texture to our M. And in order to do so, we're going to create a little custom blend of items, okay? So it really doesn't matter what color microbeads you use here because it's going to get covered up. So I chose the pollen microbeads from Prima because it's not a color that I would typically go to, and I had a whole bottle. And I wanted the texture. I'm hoping that you can see the beads there. It's like very textured. But I didn't want to use my favorite beads because I knew it was going to get covered up. So I'm using some Liquitex Super Gloss or Gloss Super Heavy Gel. And we're just going to blend them together. We're just going to mix the two of them together just to kind of create a little blendable medium here. And I'm not being precise. Let's see here. I'm doing 2 scoops of that. And that's probably way too much, but oh well. I'd rather have too much than too little. Hello everyone who is just logging on. Shannon, I got mine from Wow Studios. Yep, Kieran's on it. I got mine from Wow, ordered directly from Dee Dee. She does pre-orders and stuff when she is first coming out with a collection, and then she keeps some in stock. So I would contact her, and it's a must-have. I love, love, love. I can't believe I waited so long. So now I'm just pouring the pollen microbeads in there, and you can see I'm being pretty liberal. That was about, I wouldn't say half, but pretty good amount. And I'm just going to start mixing it together. And as you mix, you can kind of tell, you know how it is when you're putting mediums through stencils. It can't be too thick and chunky, or it's not going to blend through, and it can't be too runny either. So just, you know, blend it until you feel like it's the right consistency. It's kind of hard to, you know, give you really precise measurements on something like this, but hopefully you guys get what I'm saying. Alright, so I am just blending it together the best I can. Thank you, Karen, for getting her the link. Yes. I have admired all of 7 Dot Studios papers, and especially like the word saying stickers and stuff like that for so long, and I don't know why I waited to get it for forever. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful paper lines. They're just so beautiful. I love them. Especially the ones that Dee Dee creates. I may be a little biased in that regard, but okay, that's pretty perfect, okay? I don't know if you guys can tell on camera. Hopefully it'll focus in, but it's got just a good amount of chunky texture. I'll add just a tidbit more and mix that up, and then we're just going to spread it across our letter. Without, I was going to put paper down first, but it's all going to get covered up. I did put paper down the first time, but as you can see over there, you cannot see that paper, and I just didn't want to waste my beautiful paper. Okay, so now that we have a good blend here, hopefully y'all can see that. Kind of looks like grits or something, and let me put the lid on this before I spill it all over my table. Okay. So I am going to just line my stencil up on the M here. And I love this geometrical shape, which is not typically my style. I think that's why I'm really loving it, is because it's not my go-to style. It's very mixed media and funky and cool, and it's kind of pushing me out of my comfort zone. Alright, so I'm loading up my little, this is just one of those cheap plastic palette knives. I don't have any really fancy art tools. I just don't like to spend my money on fancy stuff because I'm too rough on them. I forget to clean them a lot, things like that. Kieran, I think you just did a video about how to clean paintbrushes and stuff that, you know, have kind of been gunked up for a while, and I need to try some of those out because I have a ton that I've ruined. I'm just really hard on my products. I don't like to get up in the middle of creating and go wash things, so therefore they get ruined. Alright, so I'm just going all the way around. I was making sure I had enough before I got a little thicker in some areas, and now that I know I do, I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit thicker. Put it a little bit thicker. If I am stumbling on my words, y'all, I have 2 excuses, and I'm going to stick to them. 1, I haven't done a live show in a while. And 2, I've been up since 4 in the morning at work. Well, up earlier than that, but at work since 4 in the morning. So, just a little bit tired. Alright, so I don't like to waste, so I'm trying to use all of that. I really don't like to waste. But, you know, one cool thing, I keep all of my empty bottles of like gessos and microbeads and things like that, because if I do ever have excess left over, I just put them in there, and it's kind of cool to have a already blended concoction ready. Alright, so I'm just going to pull it off and hope that it is nice, which it is. Now, I need to go put that in water immediately, but I'm going to set it to the side for just a second, then I'll scream at Chris to do it, and we'll see if he actually comes and helps me. because I usually banish him from the room when I'm doing a Ustream. Alright, so this is what we have so far, and of course we're going to clean up our edges. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape my palette knife right along the edge just to get all that excess off. And I love how raised it is. It's really raised up. It's really thick, which is what I wanted. And this yellowish color is not my favorite, but we are going to go crazy with the alcohol inks, which is just my thing. Someone said the other day, like, do you always use alcohol ink? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, people have their, I think everyone has kind of like their signature product that they cannot do a project without, and for me it's definitely alcohol ink. I haven't found anything that I like as much as alcohol ink, so I use it on everything. Alright, I think that, let me get in the middle of that right there. And I think that's pretty good. I'm not looking for perfection here. Okay, so we have all that yummy texture. Hopefully y'all can see just how raised that is. Like, it is very thick on there. So it's going to take a little bit of time to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back here by my air conditioner so that while we're working on the other steps, it can dry. Give me 1 second. Okay, now I'm going to scrape up all this excess here. And I don't really have enough to kind of save. I mean, I've got a little bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and chunk it and move on. Alright, let me grab a paper towel. I was out of wet wipes, which is a tragedy when you're doing mixed media, but you got to make do with what you got. This is paper towels today. Okay. And you can see I just used the back of the tag that I'm going to actually create on it. It's no big deal to me. I'm messy like that. Okay, so now we're going to work on our background while that is drying, okay? So this pretty much already has a lot of really cool design going on, and it doesn't need much help. But what I am going to do is I'm going to do some random stamping, and I'm going to spread some gesso just randomly, just to give it some more texture, and then I'm going to add that punchinella background. Let me find my stamp really quickly, y'all. You can tell that I have a mess already because I cannot find the stamps I was going to use, which I can just grab another set, no biggie. If you could see the mess I was working with here, you would just, your jaws would probably drop. There it is. Okay, I had them all set up over here and didn't even know it. Okay, so I'm going to use, not StazOn, but you know it, an ink that's not going to wash off, an archival ink. Okay, and I'm going to use one of these old stamps from Prima, from, I think it's Treasured Memories cling stamps, and I just love this line. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and I just love the design on them. They're so pretty. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and stamp randomly all over the background. Okay, and let me wipe these microbeads off because that scratching is going to drive me nuts. And this butterfly is so pretty. I've been on a kick lately where I've been stamping it and fussy cutting it out. Let me remove that plastic. And I never use, I don't know how many of y'all do. I would really like to know how many of y'all actually use an acrylic block when you're stamping. Because I just tend to use my fingers always. Like I always do. And I was wondering how many people actually use an acrylic block. I don't know. I just tend to not do that. I think you can just get a lot more control if you're just using your fingers, and you can kind of select what you want stamped. Like I'm trying not to do the big butterfly anymore. I love the drips, which are very cool. And I'm not going to pay too much attention to the middle because it's obviously going to get covered up with that M. But I'm just paying attention to the edges and the bottom and the top. I'm going to try to have half the butterfly there, which is cool with me. And I love stamping. I feel like it's something that, you know, we all do so often, but I just really like it. And you can do it a couple of times. It'll be, you know, dark to light. Forget the technical term there. I think it's like ghost stamping or something, but that's what we did there. Alright, so I'm just going to use that one for now. I had the Crackle one out from Finnabair, which is one of those small background ones, but I think that's good enough. Sometimes you don't have to go too crazy. Alright, let me move that out of the way. And then we're just going to spread some gesso, okay? And let me heat set this really quickly, just so it's dry. And I did gesso the paper. I should have mentioned that. I gesso everything, so sometimes I forget to mention it, but I always gesso everything. Okay. And my light keeps going out, y'all. I'm so sorry. 1 second. This hot light is not being my friend today. Karen, is that too dark? Because I'm struggling with this light today. If it doesn't work this time, there we go. Okay. I think having the heat gun going to made it go off. Alright, so that's what we have so far. Just a little simple stamping on the background, nothing crazy. You use the acrylic block with the clear stamps to get even pressure. That makes sense. I guess if I was doing like a card and I needed a really precise impression, I would do that, but so far I haven't. Alright, I'm going to take the same palette knife and I'm going to take some gesso here, if I can find it. Actually, we're going to use some of this because this is much more opaque. This is golden fluid acrylic. It's my favorite. It's titanium white. This is my third bottle I've used in like a month. I really love this stuff. It's very fluid, but it's so opaque and it's like a true white color. I just can't explain it. It's really white. And it's really opaque and it covers everything and it's just beautiful. I love it. The ink is a little wet still, so it's kind of giving me some grief, but that's okay. And I'm just scraping it with my palette knife. What I really like to do with that fluid acrylic is let it run down things, which I have another tutorial coming up. In fact, I might upload it today, showing that it already runs, so it's very fluid, but a little bit of water really gets it going. So I'm just haphazardly just kind of pouncing this all over. You can see where the ink is wet. It's kind of spreading and making like a gray color, and that's okay. That's fine with me. Mixed media is meant to be messy and not perfect, and that's what I love about it, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. When I'm altering a project that's you know, not mixed media, I get this pressure to just make it perfect, and I don't like that. So I tend to gravitate towards more mixed media, because even if you make a mistake, you can be like, oh, did it on purpose. Alright, so that is our background, and for now, I think that is good enough for me. I could use a smaller script stamp, but I'm not going to. And this acrylic paint dries pretty quickly. I love Golden's products. It's a really good brand to me. And the gesso is right beside me, of course. What I'm going to do while it is still wet, I have these foil sheets from Prima, and you can see this one has been so used that like you can see my hand through it, whereas like this one is brand new, so you can see the difference. But I keep these because it's really fun to just kind of like randomly add to the background, and it will just kind of stick wherever that paint is, and it doesn't, it's not too much, I guess is what I'm saying. It just kind of randomly adds a little bit of sparkle. And we're going to add a lot to the chipboard and stuff, so it's kind of cool. So I always keep my little pieces of foil. One day I'll find something really cool to do with the leftover pieces, but for now, this is what I do. So you just put it with the foil facing up if you haven't used these Prima sheets before. Yeah, Karen, sorry, I did. Oh, bye, Shannon. Thank you for coming, babe. Sorry, Sharon, Karen, I should have told you about that. Alright, so I don't know if you can see, but it just added like a little bit of foil here and there, and it's just a cool little subtle way to spruce up your background. Alright, so I'm going to not even try to measure this out. I'm just going to start cutting into this, because if I try to worry about what it's looking like, it's going to be real tedious. So I'm just going to cut little chunks, and I'm going to cut this one in half vertically. And we've got 3 chunks there that we can work with. I think this one I will put right here on the side, and I'm actually going to cut into it a little more and have another little piece there. Okay. And that's kind of bothering me, so let me cut that off. Okay. And we'll figure out where we're going to put those pieces. Okay. Alright, so I've got those cut pretty much how I want, and now I'm going to move my tag out of the way really quickly. And what we're going to do is we're just going to, it would be nice if I had gessoed these first, but I didn't think about it, so it's no big deal though. We're going to just go ahead and grab our alcohol inks. And you can get a 3-pack of these 3 colors, which is my favorite 3. It is, let's see here, caramel, ginger, and latte. And I just get these at Michael's, which I work at, by the way, so it's just easy for me to just grab them. So these are my 3 favorite colors, but I love all the browns, and I have every single color under the sun. So I'm going to start with the lightest one, which is latte. It's my favorite one. And I'm just going to start sprinkling it on there, and it will absorb right into that chipboard. And you can spritz it with water first even if you want, and it'll kind of help it to move around. But what's really cool is the effects you get when you do multiple layers of the alcohol ink. And like I said, it's my staple item. How many of y'all have just an item you cannot imagine crafting without using it? I mean, obviously we all love our gessos and, like, you know, matte mediums and gloss gels and things like that, but I don't do projects very often that I don't use alcohol ink on. So you can see the latte just kind of barely discolored it. So we're going to go in with the darker one, which is caramel. And I want to leave some of the raw chipboard showing through because it's a very light brown color. But I may end up covering it all, who knows, on accident. And I'm just going to spritz it with water just to let it flow a little more. And then last, we're going to add the ginger on top. The Prima Rub-On Fool is amazing. We're fixing to add it onto here as well. I love it. It's my favorite. I love any like gold leafing, or I have like tons of other brands. I'm not completely just biased. It doesn't have to be Prima, but I do prefer Primas because it's just, I love it. It's awesome. And you get a lot in those little tubes. They last me quite some time. Okay. So I've got those on there, and I'm going to grab a paper towel because the color pretty much absorbs in right away. I'm not going to really be wiping off any of the color. I'm just kind of drying it a little bit. Okay. And while we have the alcohol ink out, I'm going to grab my flowers. Now this is a pack from Prima. The item number is 594831. And it's just like one of those newer ones. I can't think of the name. But it has these little leaf bundles, which I really love. It comes with 2 of these in the pack, which I love. Yes, Alexandra, it's my favorite. Which, by the way, your work is amazing. Alexandra, what is something you can't create without? I would love to know, because you alter a lot of really cool stuff, and I'd love to know what one of your staple items is. And if y'all already said, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to keep up with the chat. Okay, so I love to add alcohol inks to the center of my flowers. So I did gesso these first, by the way. I gesso everything. Like usually when I get a pack, I just go ahead and gesso it. It's just kind of what I do. I'm going to do the same thing to these leaves, kind of spritz them with water. And I'm going to change these. I don't want these green at all. I want them to be brown. Just like they are in this. They are completely brown. Okay? It is fall, so it's appropriate. And I'm just going to add that alcohol ink. And it's just taking like 1 drop each. Just make sure you get both sides I think what I really love about alcohol ink too is how quickly it dries. Because I don't like to wait for things to dry. I do want to try those new Ken Oliver Colorburst inks that I've seen a lot of people using lately. I do want to try my hand at those and see how well those work. They look like they're really pigmented. I've never tried the, oh goodness, what's the name of them? Oh, I can't think. It's kind of like the Magicals, Brushos, that's what it is. I've never tried those either, and I really want to get my hands on those. So I've got those completely brown, and I'm going to set them to the side to dry. And the leaves do fall off a lot on these little vines, and it's okay with me because I can just glue them down where I want. But I wanted to just disclaimer, like, they do that to me. So if yours come apart, it's not just you, it's me too. They just come apart. I don't know why. They're not attached by wire. It's just like paper to paper. So it's a little rickety. Alright, now what I like to do is I like to take latte and just put a dot in the center of my flowers. Maybe a dot or two depending on how big the flower is. It's a little one, I just do one. And then I'll spritz it with water to get it flowing. But since it was gessoed, you have a little bit of playtime. If it wasn't gessoed, it would just kind of sink in immediately. Maybe I didn't gesso that one. Okay. I just don't like that yellow stamen that's kind of showing on all those flowers. I'm not a big fan of yellow, in case you can't tell. I don't know why. I have been trying more color combos lately, but yellow is not one of my favorites. Brushos, Karen, they're awesome. Do you have some? I bet you probably have a video on it too. I'll have to go check it out. I really want to try those. They look awesome. Alexandra. Art stones, yes, for sure. They add such cool texture. I'm loving art stones too. Okay, these are going to take a minute to dry, and I think if I turn on my heating tool, it's going to cause my light to go out because it's all like plugged into breaker after breaker. Give me 1 second, y'all, to kind of wipe off this stencil. I really don't want to ruin my brand new stencil, so I'm just trying to wipe off a little bit of that medium off of it before it sets. Okay, now what we're going to do is take one of the foil sheets from Prima, and I have one of their planner glue pens. You can use any glue that you want, but these are really good for adding to just randomly add a little bit of the foil, which is what I really like to do. Okay, let me make sure they're nice and dry. I'm going to take one more paper towel, otherwise it's not going to adhere as well, and I did spritz it with a good bit of water. But the Umlaw Studios chipboard is very thick, so it's great for mixed media. Okay, and then I'm just going to take this glue pen. You can use a regular Elmer's glue stick. You can use tacky glue. I use tacky glue sometimes. I just let it sit up a little bit first before I add the foil on top. Just kind of let it sit for a minute until it's like really tacky to the touch, as if you were going to do like a crackle effect with it. I don't know how many of you have ever used glue to do crackle paint, but it's really cool. Yeah, which is better, Brushos or Magicals? Because I have a feeling I'm about to order one of them, so I've never used the Magicals either. I'm so deprived, I swear. There's so many amazing products out there that I just have not gotten my hands on. So I'm just adding that everywhere and making sure it's nice and tacky. Just kind of rubbing my fingers off of it. Just don't want it to be like really globbed up anywhere. I want it to be able to grab that foil pretty quickly. I don't know about y'all, but my hands get really dirty after the end of a craft session. Sometimes I post pictures on Instagram. Okay, now I'm just going to kind of push them all together so I can do this all at once. And this is a newer sheet of foil, so I can do it all at once. And you do it with the foil side facing up, which you would think you wouldn't. You'd think you would do it the opposite way, but you don't. The foil side facing up, and you just rub it with your finger, just burnish it. I think it's the technical term. Yeah, Karen keeps, like, she has all the new stuff. She really does. Alright, Karen, cool. I'm gonna go check it out. I miss making YouTube videos, but I can't keep up with Kieran and like Tiffany and all the amazing gals who have such great content. I love it. I love watching it. It's like what I do every morning with my cup of coffee. I watch like a video or two. Alright, so I'm just rubbing it. I'm going to flip it over and push it too. So you can see it's like kind of like silver back there. And then I'm just going to pull it off. And you can see there, we're getting the foil on there just randomly. And then I'm going to push again. And the cool thing is, wherever you did this, especially with like a background like this, is you leave like this really cool pattern into your foil, which I haven't quite figured out what to do with it yet, but I do save all of my pieces like that. So one day I'll figure out what to do with it. Okay, so that piece is ready. I'm happy with that. See how the foil is with the alcohol inks. It just kind of adds an extra little bit of oomph to it as opposed to just the alcohol ink. So I'm just going to add these. Aw, thank you. Lemon Creation, what's your name? I'm sure we know each other. You know how usernames are different than our real names. Like mine is Miss Liberty 25 on YouTube. And I want to change it, but I'm afraid, you know, I've had it like that for so long now that people won't know who I am anymore. Well, Karen, you should blush because you're amazing. Oh, Jaya, my love. Hello, dear. Thank you so much for coming. Speaking of talent, we have another one in the house. We've got a talented crew on here today. Everyone logged on is so talented. The foil is amazing. You're really, really, really going to love it. Lynette, I can't believe you've never used foil either. You've got to use it. I have, which if I have time, I'll show you. I have a little bag of like loose leaf foil that I think I got from Indigo Blue. And I like to use it too on things, but it's not as convenient as this. This one's not grabbing the foil very much, but that's okay because the rest of them have a pretty good amount on there. I must not have added enough of the glue to it, but that's okay. And you could add more, but you know, obviously we're live and we're already running out of time, so we're gonna have to get this together pretty quickly. Which it's really not much to this. It's pretty simple steps. It may seem like it's taken a while, but it's pretty simple. So you can see there, I did not use that much of that foil, so we still have like almost all of it left over, okay? So let me grab my heat tool because we're going to have to speed up some of this, and let me grab my letter too really quickly. Okay, it has firmed up a little bit, but not as much as it needs to be. So we're going to have to heat set, and if you see my aught light go out, it's because my, what's it called? My power whatever thingamajigger is just overloaded. I'm going to keep it on low in hopes that it doesn't make everything go out, but it does quite often. Because this is not your ordinary heat tool, it's a big heavy-duty industrial paint stripper, but it dries so quickly that I just can't use anything else. And I like to fluff my flowers as I dry, because when you're adding water and mediums and stuff, they kind of lose their shape. But once you dry them, they usually fluff right back up. Oh, okay, Asia, hello. I'm so sorry for not calling you by your name. Okay, Jaya, we are talking about must-have products. And since you are a mixed media guru, what is your must-have, must-use, or most used product? Something that every creation, you just have to have it. Alright, now I'm going to try to dry my letter. And I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but if you hold your heat tool on things like this, I'm sure you have, it's a pretty common little technique, it will start to bubble, and I don't really want that. So I'm just going to keep it moving along. Sometimes it's cool to have it bubbling. It gives it really cool texture, but and I can hear it sizzling. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it is like sizzling on my end. Once we get all these little pieces done, it's really quick to put together. It's just a matter of, you know, mixed media is all about drying times, which is I think it's the only downfall for me. It's just waiting for things to dry. I'm very, very, very impatient, so I do not like to wait on things to dry. Alright, these aren't even quite dry enough, but we're going to have to roll with it, y'all, because we are running out of time. So we're going to have to go with it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start alcohol inking this one to make this M look like this letter P here, okay? We want it to look like that. Let me shine the light there a little more. Okay, so I'm going to move those out the way and move these, and I'm going to spritz this pretty good with water. And alcohol ink is going to really run into these areas. And again, I'm going to start with my lightest first, if I can find it, which is the latte. And I'm just going in between here randomly and dropping it. And if you have a pretty color microbead that you don't want to cover up, you don't have to. You can just kind of like hit it and it will go in between those areas because it's really thick. But I want that covered, so it's no big deal to me. So I'm being generous with this first color because it is my favorite one and the lightest. Okay, so that was the latte alcohol ink, and I'm just going to move it around and let it kind of do its thing. And then I'm going to use my baby wipe to kind of get the excess up. Okay. I try so hard to keep a clean area as I craft, but inevitably it becomes a mess. So this one is the caramel one. White gesso, Jaya? Yeah, definitely. I mean, gesso's a staple. You gotta have that. I think clear gesso more than white for me. I'm a clear gesso girl. I think every single thing I have gets clear gessoed. Like when I get flower packs, everything I get, I usually just immediately clear gesso it so it's ready for any medium I want to add to it. Alright, you can see that one is much darker. So again, I'm just going to let it kind of run and do its thing. And when it's all dry, we're going to add some of Finnabare's waxes to the top, which are beautiful, and they really highlight the microbeads that kind of got lost after we added the alcohol ink on top. You just can't see them that much. But once we add that wax, it's going to really bring them out. Alright, now I'm going to go in with the darkest color. And I'm just focusing on the areas where I didn't get any coverage. And it really, I mean, these last me forever. This thing is still like completely full. I love that about alcohol inks, and I use them so much. I think they should pay me to be a spokesperson for them because I just rave about them. Okay, I think we're done with them now. So I'm going to move it out of the way. Let that one kind of run around. Clean up my mess just a tidbit. Go along my sides. Hit the bottom. Alright, so we're going to let that dry for just a sec. Okay. Now, I'm going to move it out the way. And while we are waiting on that to dry, we are going to go ahead and start adhering our little punchinella background piece to the background here of our tag. And of course our foil and everything is dry on there now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just start adding this wherever I feel like it looks the best. I'm being so finicky. You can see me just like being... Alright, I'm going to add it right there. I'm going to use, let's see, I have so many glues out here on my table. I'm just going to grab the first one, which is Scotch Tacky Glue. and it works really well. I'm actually really surprised at how well this glue works. I got it just to try it, and it works really well. Of course, I usually use 3D gloss gel and it's sitting right beside me, but for time constraints and keeping my fingers nice and clean, I think I'm going to go with this one for now. It's usually my go-to though, that or the heavy body gel. And I don't know if you could tell there, but I put it down in one area and then I kind of moved it up, and I'm fixing to show you why I did that. You're probably like, now you can see all that glue in those areas, and I want that, and I'm going to show you why right now, and I'm going to add even more. So as I add each piece, I'm going to add just a little bit more glue, and this is a white glue, but it dries clear, so don't worry about that. Now I'm going to grab some of my micro beads. These are bronze micro beads from Finnabare's Art Ingredients, and I am going to sprinkle them into those little recesses and everywhere where that glue was. I'm going to make a giant mess as I do it, but that's okay. Okay. And then I know there's plenty of like fancy little contraptions for catching microbeads, but I still just use paper, like with embossing powder and stuff. I still just use a piece of paper. A very well loved piece of paper, as you can see. And just pour the excess back in there. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, and I will trim that off whenever we are ready to rock with that. I will trim that excess off. Alright, I'm going to add this piece. I'm just going to do the same thing with all my little pieces of background. And again, I did use the hexagon background, but I did not have I didn't have enough left. I had one tiny little piece left, and I was like, I don't think that's going to work. So I move it just a little bit after I place it down, and then just add a little bit of random glue. You can even go on top of your stencil or your background piece, whatever you want to do. Now I've got microbeads kind of spreading everywhere, but that's okay. It's the story of my life. I keep a very messy desk, and that's totally fine with me. I love microbeads, and I don't care how messy they are. I'll forever use them. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this piece here. I don't know. I think we might need more at the bottom to kind of center it out. Where's my other piece at? There it is. Okay. So we're going to add this right here on the bottom. I'm trying to speed up because I see that we have like 15 minutes left. I've never claimed to be a fast crafter, and people ask me all the time why I don't do more tutorials anymore, and it's because I'm so slow. Like, I'm just a slow crafter. When I do classes and stuff, I keep them easier so that way, you know, we do get done with it, or the bulk of it done, but I've had plenty of classes where we didn't finish even the project in time. So, alright, where's my last little piece? You know what, I'm actually going to hold off on that tiny little excess piece until the end and see where exactly I want it. Let me see if I can salvage any of these micro beads. And surprisingly, I didn't. Okay, so our background is almost ready to rock. The last thing that I want to do after I get these micro beads off of here is add some mica flakes. The Art Ingredients line from Finnabare is a must-have. I love everything about it. You could use her glass glitters, which I love, anything. I love everything. But the gold mica flakes, which you can tell I need to order another one, is by far and above my favorite item. I just love these mica flakes. They're so pretty. Okay, so I am just going to randomly add them around. Move that back up so y'all can see it. And I'm just going to take the glue, and again I'm just kind of going randomly. I usually start in like threes because I don't want to forget where I had the glue at. And you're just going to kind of sprinkle a little bit on there and let them lay where they will. And if it comes off, it comes off. These are much easier to clean up than the microbeads. And they just give such a pretty effect. I love, love, love the mica flakes. I think all of the art ingredients are a must-have. Yes, gold mica. I'm with you there, Alexandra. They are, yes, Asia, they're amazing. I love them. I even like to just sprinkle them on my table, like when I'm taking photos, which I admire all of you who stage out your photos. Oh my goodness, I cannot imagine the extra amount of work that takes, like that make your backgrounds look so pretty, because I guess I'm just too lazy, truth be told, to do that. But the most I've done is sprinkle some mica flakes in the background. And to me, I was like, yes, you did it. And all I did was sprinkle some mica flakes. Alright. So I think that is good enough for me for this one. Add as much or as little as you like. Okay, and the good thing about these is they're very easy to, you can pretty much catch those in your hand. Well, since I said that, they went everywhere, but typically I can usually just grab them right back in my hand. Okay, we are ready to add our letter now. Let me get this mess off of here. Okay, so now we're going to add our letter M. Let me go ahead and hit it with the heat tool because I added so much water, I don't think it's quite dry. But you can see now that it really did not matter what color microbead you used because it's getting covered up. So it was not a big deal at all. So if you have any colors in your stash that you're like, I'm never ever going to use those, it's perfect in mixed media for things like this because it gets covered up anyway. Oh, thank you, Jaya. I hope everyone is having a good summer. Does anyone have any like amazing vacation planned or have they been on one? So this is what the M looks like now. Okay, and we are going to go ahead and adhere it on here. Now we have, I don't know if you can tell, but we've got like some level differences here because this is on top of there and that's not. So what we're going to do to kind of remedy that is I save all of my little cardboard scraps, like when I get packages and stuff, I save those because they are great for adding dimension. I'd have to use like a billion pop dots to get the dimension I want sometimes, and I don't know. I love pop dots, do not get me wrong, I'm a lazy crafter, but sometimes it's nice to just recycle for one and not have to deal with all those fussy peeling the backs off of all of those. And I'm going to cut a tiny piece. I don't have to cut it. I think that's good. And you just want to make sure it's not like right on the edge when you're doing something like this because you don't want people to see the cardboard and stuff. Okay. And I'm just going to add glue in these areas because I know this is going to be touching here. I know that's going to be touching there. So I'm just going to kind of add the glue everywhere. So if it touches the punchinella, we are good to go. And let's see if we can center this the best we can. Okay. And it's really gummy. Like this part is really gummy because it's not quite dried yet, but that's okay. And somehow our mica flakes have transferred onto there, and that's totally fine too. Okay. And now we have that last little piece, and I'm going to kind of have it right there, going in the little V of the M there. Okay, so again, just sprinkle a little bit of microbeads. It's really good for covering up mistakes with glue and stuff. That's what I really love about them too. So even if that was an accident, you could cover it up with the microbeads. Alright, let me shake it off and then I will show you what we have so far. Okay, so this is where we're at. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know my lighting's not the best. Okay, so now it's time to embellish, which is the funnest part of all. First, I'm going to grab those waxes I was telling you about. And I've got two colors here. I've got the vintage gold and the white gold wax, which are both just equally amazing to me. I love them both so much. They're just so pretty. Okay, let me grab a few things really quickly. Okay. What was I even looking for? I'm losing my mind, I swear. Okay. I'm also going to use a little bit of the Color Bloom 2 spray, which is the Golden Walnut. It's one of my favorite ones. This in the Dragonfly Blue I love so much. And these ones, it's so easy to spritz, like get those little splatters. The first edition ones, it wasn't as easy to do. I don't know. I definitely prefer the Color Bloom 2 sprays. I feel like you can get a lot better effects with it. So I just sprayed and spritzed on there just randomly, just to kind of darken it up. Because this one seems much lighter so far than the original one, but of course we're not done. Okay, so I'm going to grab my waxes now. I'm going to go in with the white gold first, which is a must-have. I'd say this whole entire year, the best thing that got released to me was probably these waxes. I love them so much. And I'm using this lightest touch ever to go over this, like super light. I've still got wet mediums on here, and that is completely fine with me. I'm going to grab a paper towel just so I don't contaminate my little waxy vial. And we are almost out of time already. But really, we just have flowers to add and a few tags, and we're done. So if I got kind of heavy-handed there, you don't really want to go super heavy-handed. I'm going to try to blend that out, but I don't know if it will. This wax will last you forever and ever and ever. I've had these since they first came out, and I mean, I am talking about, I use these on everything. And I even tap my brush into it and really, really get a lot on there. And this is just going to bring out all of the texture of those microbeads so much. It's just really going to bring it to life. Oh, thank you so much for coming, sweetheart. Have a great day, and thank you so much for coming, Petra. Alright, this one is the vintage gold, so it's a much more true to gold than the white gold. It's a darker, well, the name says it. It's a more vintage color than the white gold. So I'm just adding that all over. Just kind of want to highlight everything. And it really brings the whole thing to life. It's kind of hard when you're live and you're trying to mimic a project you did when you had unlimited time. You know, when you're sitting there at your table and you can just like, you know, oh, try this, try that. It's different when you're live and you have to recreate something, because it's just hard to get it to be exactly the same within an hour too. Okay, so that is pretty good to go. I was going to go ahead and trim that off, but I don't think it's quite ready yet. I don't want to ruin it. We're going to give it a try. And I will save these little bits of chipboard. Nothing goes to waste for me. Well, obviously that's going to be wasted, but that one piece is not going to be wasted. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and add it right here at the bottom. I do not like to waste. We spend too much money on our crafty goodies, so I don't want to waste on top of that. Okay, I'm going to kind of dab where I spritzed at. And if you let that Color Bloom spray sit for a minute, it's going to go ahead and give you that effect you want. You don't have to wait for those pools to dry. That would take absolutely forever. So I'm going in there with a paper towel, and you can see I just got all of that up, but it is still leaving those little splatters everywhere. So as long as you give it enough time, you're good to go. Alright, now it's time to start adding flowers, embellishing, and getting the show on the road. So Dee Dee releases these amazing little crown mash chipboards. There's a ton of them in a little package, and I'm going to use this one now. And we're going to go ahead and grab some tags from the Dreamscapes collection too. Let me get those out. and start adding those. This is one of my favorite things about the collection. And then you also get, which some of mine are popped out and kind of have fallen in there, you get these tags, which are beautiful. So I'm going to grab a few of these tags. We're going to use those. And I don't have my crocodile. Let me grab my crocodile really quickly. Oh wait, hold on, it's behind me. Did have it. And I'm just going to punch this all at once. Just line these little tags up and punch my little hole. Okay. And that's going to allow me to thread some twine or whatever you want to thread through it later into there. Okay, and this is what I was talking about. One of my favorite things about 7 Dot Studio. You get these really pretty word stickers, which are so fun. So I'm going to have these kind of coming out of the tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off in different sizes these tags, and I will save these little scraps. I save everything, and I'm going to kind of get them to where I want that black and white one to show. So I'm going to adhere them together just like so. Just using one little piece of glue there. You could pop it up even if you wanted to. Let me grab a little piece of cardboard and I'll pop this one up just to show you. So you can really get some cool dimension going here too. Okay, so I'm going to have that coming out of the bottom of my tags. So I'm going to have to trim a little bit more off, which is okay. And then it should just tuck in there. Yep, tucks in there just right. So let me glue the bottom. And then we can thread that with the yarn. I think that's what I used on this one. Just some regular run-of-the-mill yarn. Okay. And it's going to be just kind of sticking off of the side there. I love these tags. I love that 7 Dot Studio kind of gives you everything that you need to craft a project with. I just love it. So those are kind of sticking off over there. You can journal on those. You can add little photos. You can do whatever you want. But I just kind of did it as a decorative element to add my butterfly onto. Okay, so like I said, we had the chipboard one on the original here, which I really love. It's the prettiest little butterfly chipboard I've ever seen. Oh, they are amazing, Alexandra. They are so fun. They really, really are. They're just perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay, but I'm gonna have to use my die cut one, which I can't locate now because I have a gigantic mess on my table. So give me 1 second, y'all. Hold on. This is what happens when you're a messy crafter. You lose everything. There it is. Okay. So I used just some scrap 7 Dot Studio paper that I had. And what I did is, and I can show you, I took that same foil and that glue stick and I just kind of randomly went over the paper with it. And then I die cut it out. And I didn't get full coverage. I didn't want full coverage. I wanted some of the paper to show through. So that is what I did there. And I'm really glad this has a flat surface here for me to glue with. And if you guys see any of this glue seeping, do not worry. It dries really, it's one of the few ones I can say it really does dry perfectly clear, which makes me a happy camper. So I never really worry about that. I always go for matte adhesives. I do use the gloss gel to adhere to, but I prefer the matte. Just depends on what I have. Okay, so for now it's not exactly fluffed the way I want it to be, you can see, but when it dries, when the glue is completely dry, you can go in there and really bend these wings and get it in the shape that you want. But when you're waiting on glue to dry, you don't really have that opportunity, okay? So we are going to add some alcohol ink and some wax to our little crown here. And this is where we're going to put our word sticker. So you can see just how beautiful that wax, I mean, it just covers so quickly. So pretty. It's just beautiful. I mean, I barely tapped into that and it covered that whole thing with plenty left over. I try to get the sides too. I don't like to neglect anything. And in the little areas, you could even use a paintbrush if it was something very intricate. But how pretty is that little crown now? I mean, it's just super pretty. And if you want, now the wax is kind of a resist, so it's, I don't know if it's really pointless. I don't want to say it's pointless. It does kind of add some effects, but you can add alcohol ink. And then I usually just kind of tap it so that it just kind of stains and makes it look a little rusty. Hopefully you can see that. It's very, very, very subtle though. So it's completely up to you if you even want to try that. But because the wax is a resist, so it's really gonna resist most of that alcohol ink. If you let it dry naturally, you can get much better effects, but obviously we're low on time. So, okay, so I'm gonna add my little crown here. And I was hoping, and it didn't happen, I was hoping it would line up with the butterfly and wouldn't cover it up, but it did. That's okay though. Alright, so I'm gonna add my crown and the word sticker, and then all we have left are flowers, which is the favorite part for me. Okay, so I'm going to pick one, the one I did on the original one, since it was a letter P, I chose Put Your Cape On and Fly, and that's why I had the butterfly wing and everything. But for this one, let's see here. I think I'm just going to put... You know what, Jaya? You're going to love this. I have to put this. No, I really want to put Reach for the Stars because that's our workshop, but I want to make one that starts with an M. There we go. Alright, make your mark, since it has an M on both, but I so wanted to use that Reach for the Stars. That would have been perfect. I'm trimming a little bit off just so it's a little shorter. You can even kind of fishtail cut it if you want to make it like a banner. And I am just going to, I kind of bend it. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of making it more pliable. Hey Kim, it's Kim. She's our Swirly Doos queen. Thank you so much, girl, for coming. You know me, I'm always really late with my stuff, Kim. She's been to one of my classes at Art Venture, so she knows I'm slow. Kim's amazing. Another super talented girl joining. Alright, now it is time for flowers, okay? So here is what we have so far, y'all. Okay? Very easy to do. Nothing that I've done here, I hope none of you feel like it was just too hard or anything, because it's really, really, really not. I promise it's not. Okay, so we're going to start adding our flowers now, and I do want to add one down here to that little area. In fact, I'm going to pull up the sticker for now until I figure out which flower I want to add there. I think I'm just going to add that one. These are still a little bit wet, but that's okay. They'll dry. And like I said, once they're dry, you can really get them in the shape that you want. I like these to be nice and wavy. I don't like them just to stick straight. So I'm trying to make it wavy. Okay? So I've just added one little flower down there. And now I'm going to start embellishing with all these beautiful flowers and leaves and stuff like that we have. I have a little corner piece here I'm going to add up here on the M. But I'm actually going to add it on this side because that side is going to get covered up with the butterfly. You rock, Kim. Thank you so much for coming. See, Karen, it's so hard for me sometimes, and I feel like I upset people if I don't know their username. But I recognized her because we're Swirly sisters. It's so hard sometimes to keep up. I'm just not good with knowing people's usernames, I guess. Okay, so that just kind of adds a little bit of detail to the corner there. Kind of defines that M a little more. And we are just going to start adding a few flowers just randomly wherever we want. No rhyme or reason to this, just adding those little flowers. And the thing I love about these new packs with Prima is you get a lot of different sizes in them, which is cool. You get some cool variation in sizes, which is really nice when you want to do a project. They're all matching, but they're just different sizes. So I'm going to put one in the center of that butterfly because I just feel like it needs it. Let's see here. Let's put one here in the center. Nah, I don't really like that idea. Never mind. Scratch that. We'll put it over here. I'm not big on things being centered. I don't know. It's weird for me. I don't really like that. Being centered. Just looks weird. If these were dry, it'd be much easier to kind of tuck them where you want them, but they're still really wet from the mediums. Okay? So here's what we have so far. I'm going to add a few jump rings. I love these ginormous jump rings that you get with the Prima packs, but I just feel like I'm never going to use them because they are so big and they're so heavy duty. I feel like I would never ever use them. So I'm just going to add them randomly on here. And I do not remember who I got this idea from, and I really wish I did, but they did it on a project. And I just loved it. I mean, I know a ton of people do it, but this was like ages and ages ago when I first saw it, and I was like, that's really cool. Good way to use up those jump rings that you don't ever use. And it's cool to kind of stack two of them. And I know you're thinking like, oh, that glue looks awful, but it will dry clear, I promise. I'll even put one there. And just to make sure we have nice and pretty everywhere, I'm going to sprinkle a few more microbeads just on that glue area. Okay, y'all, we are pretty much done. The last step is to add our ribbon to the hole up here. Now, the original one had a very big, like a hole reinforcer, but this one doesn't, but that's okay. So we're just going to use some Prima trim here, and it looks very beachy. Let's see here. It's called, I'm not going to try to pronounce it because sometimes Frank comes up with those crazy names, but it's just a really pretty rope type trim. And I'm going to use a pretty good chunk of it. And I always save these little spools because I just love them. Okay. And I just realized I'm really going to have a hard time getting it through this hole, but we are going to try. If I could just get one little grip on the other side, I'd be good. There we go. Okay. So I usually just put it through and make a loop in the back. I'm sure everybody has their own way of tying a tag. I don't do a ton of them, so if you have a better tip, I am all ears. And this is a very big ribbon, so it is not wanting to catch the way I want it to, but that's okay. We're going to make it work. Okay. So now that it's like that, I'm actually going to tie it one more time and give myself a nice little knot to work off of. There we go. Okay. So we've got our little trim here. So the last step is to add those beautiful little leaves that we alcohol inked. These were green. You're so funny, Kim. Yeah, there's like a million Kims, so it would be kind of hard to keep up with. All right, I'm gonna pull off or cut off the little tail there, and I just want these. Actually, let me grab a little bit of that titanium white golden acrylic. I do have the heavy white gesso, which is what I use normally, y'all. So let me go ahead and use some of that too, because I don't want you to feel like you have to run out and buy anything. You don't. You just use what you have on hand. And I'm just going to use that same palette knife and just kind of go over the whole thing with some of the white, just to kind of blend it in and make it look a little more cohesive with the rest of it. I'm just adding it everywhere. And then I'm going to add a little bit of alcohol ink too. And then we're going to add flowers. Some more Prima flowers. And of course, you know, this is a rushed version of the tag, so you can get much prettier results at home if you're taking your time and you're not rushing and, you know, you're just in your own zone creating. So hopefully you guys can see that. Let me pull it up to you a little bit more. Turn it sideways. So I've just got a knot there. It's got some white and some alcohol ink, and we are just going to start adhering. And see how this leaf is just coming off? I'm just going to go ahead and pull it off. Just start adhering our little vines in there. I'm just pulling the ones off that want to come off. I'm not going to fuss with them. If they want to come off, they can come off. Okay. The cool thing about this trim is the stems can kind of poke into it and really give you an anchor. So I can kind of push it through to the other side and bend it into place. Okay? And my glue kind of got on there, but that's okay. Alright, let me move a little closer here. So I've got one little piece of the vine there. And of course it's going to have to wait until it's dry before you can really bend these and get them how you want them. I'm going to add a little bit more alcohol ink to it. So I'm just going to add these vines wherever. I've got one more piece here. I'm going to add this one to the edge of this piece. And I just stick it in and then kind of bend down on the other side. So it's kind of anchored. You really don't even need glue. But I'm going to add some just in case. And a little bit more alcohol ink because it's a little too green for me. Okay. And then you can just kind of tuck in these extra little leaves that fell off here and there. But other than that, it's just adding the flowers where you want to. And some charms, which Frank Garcia, the Memory Hardware line from Prima, has so many amazing charms. I'll show you a few options that I have. His La Rochelle trinkets. There's so many. Oh my goodness, I couldn't even try to name them all. He's got so many amazing ones. Let's see, I kind of want to add another flower somewhere. Not sure. I try to add them to the front and the back of the trim too, because you never really know which direction it's going to kind of flop over. And then I'll just add a little leaf coming out. So you're just going to kind of do that all over. And let me show you what it looks like. So that's the front side, and then you can see when you flip it, you've got some there. So you kind of want to make sure you have it on every side, just depending on, you know, how it's going to sit. So the last thing we're going to do, very last step, is add a few trinkets to the trim. So we're going to grab some jump rings again. These are a smaller size, which is easier for me to use. But he has the most amazing trinkets here. I mean, like, these are so beautiful. I love them so much. They're just gorgeous. So I'm going to add a few of those. Let me grab, I think I have a pack. Yep, here we go. They're called La Rochelle Antique Trinkets, and they're beautiful. So I'm going to use one of these smaller ones too. And I'm just cutting into it like that because I'm being lazy. And you just add those in wherever you want. So we'll add this one, we'll add that one, and then we'll add that one. And that's a wrap. So we're going to just, I usually just use my fingers to open up jump rings. I know there's better ways, but like pliers so you don't kill your fingers, but I don't really mind. They're pretty pliable. So I'm just using a jump ring and adding these trinkets in there just wherever you want. That's the great thing about this trim, is it has so many little areas for you to insert objects without, you know, tearing or ripping or fraying the ribbon. Let's see, let's add this one right here below this leaf. And then we'll add our last one. So as I'm adding the last two embellishments, does anybody have any questions at all on anything I've done today? I'd be happy to answer them. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you so much, y'all. You're so sweet. It is a pretty trim, Droop. I almost called you Droopy. It's been a long day. Thanks, Droopy. I mean, Kim. I'm going to hang this one low because it doesn't have a hole reinforcer. I feel like it just kind of looks weird. I don't know, I guess things need hole reinforcers for a reason. Alright, there we go. Alright, let me move this stuff off of my table so you guys can see it. And then I will see if anybody has any questions. And I did go over like 15 minutes, and I'm so sorry, but that's just me. I'm a very slow crafter. Sorry, y'all. So this is what we've created today. I hope you guys like it. And I'm having some issue with adhesives, but that comes with the territory when you're live. Okay, so this is the one we created on the show. Okay, and then this is the original one. And you can see the size difference too. We're dealing with a pretty good size difference. This one was a lot bigger. Okay, does anyone have any questions? The name of the trim, hold on, let me find it, Kim. I'm going to hold it up here. It's called Ruban's Nastri. R-U-B-A-N-S-N-A-S-T-R-I. And I didn't plan on using this. I was just going to use a generic rope, but I grabbed it at the end. The item number is 573607. So 573607. And this is from 2014. So it's an older one, Kim. It's a older one from one of the beach lines. I can't quite remember, but it's an older one and I love it. Okay, so no questions. Thank you so much, Asia. I really appreciate everyone for coming. I did record so I can upload it to, or Karen can upload it to YouTube and let everyone see it. Karen, thank you so much for inviting me to come. I'm sorry I went over and that I was a little tongue twisted today, but it's been a long day. But I couldn't wait to get home and do a Ustream. So I hope you like my project. If you want to buy any of the stuff, I think Karen linked it all and it's on the Facebook page as well. So if you want to get any of the goodies, feel free to. Oh, and I should have mentioned this is a memory box die, this butterfly here. It's a really pretty memory box butterfly die. But I wish I would have had another one of the wow ones, but I didn't. Alright, thank you all so much for coming. Kim, I'll find a link or I'll try to order some and see if I can get you some. I'll see if I can pull some strings. Probably not, but I'll see. Thank you all so much for coming. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. Alexandra, Jaya, Asia, Kim, Lynette. I hope I'm not missing anyone. Okay, everyone have a beautiful day. And I will see you guys on Facebook and social media. And I don't know, Karen, who's doing the next class? I don't know if I was supposed to announce that or not, and I'm sorry if I didn't. But every week they have amazing classes here on Artist Live. So you have to check it out. Alright, so thank y'all for coming and have a beautiful day. And I will see y'all later.